Hi, welcome to the Garments Engage Crochet podcast, where I chat about crochet garments and other yarny things. I am Michelle Ferguson, owner, creator, designer of Two Brothers Blankets. You can find me at twobrothersblankets.com and on Facebook and Instagram at Two Brothers Blankets, and as well as here on YouTube. I hope you will subscribe to this channel and click the bell so that you get a notification every single time a new episode of this podcast goes up. I am like 200 or less away from 1,000 YouTube subscribers. So I'm thinking we're going to have a giveaway soon, because why not, right? Once I get to 1,000, I think I'm going to do a giveaway. So be sure to subscribe. Share this podcast with your friends, your family, anyone who loves crocheting and crocheting garments, and hopefully we'll get to 1,000 subscribers really soon. I hope you guys have had a good week. Anyone still tired from time change? I know not everyone has to deal with that, but here in Florida, we do, and it is not fun at all. Like, I've been dragging all week because of the time change. Like, don't want to get up in the morning, but don't want to fall, like, not ready to fall asleep at my usual time at night. And so I've been all off, as I know most people are. So hopefully we'll adjust to that soon. So I want to talk about events and happenings this week. I have some fun stuff coming up. At the time of this publication of this podcast, I have a guest blogger coming to the blog to share a beautiful crochet pattern for us on tomorrow, Friday. And then I also have a free pattern coming up at the end of this month, which is in just a few days. So be on the lookout for that as well. 2 new patterns within a week. So definitely check that out, twobrothersblankets.com. The best way to keep track of all this, the new events and happenings, is to subscribe to my email. There's a link in the description. I send out a newsletter every Friday with all the new things, everything coming up, and every time there's a new pattern and all that. So do that so that you won't miss anything. Okay, today I want to share with you some easy ways to adjust your garment projects: sweaters, tops, cardigans, tank tops, all the things. I'm gonna share how you can adjust, and I'm gonna try, as long as I remember, to share ways to adjust with each workup style. We talked about workup styles in episode 2, I think it was. So if you haven't watched that, go back and watch that first. And then for this, I'm gonna share for each workup style the easiest way to adjust for my little points that I have. I have 5 points, 5 ways you can adjust, and I'm going to try to remember to share how to adjust for each workup style. So let's get started. The first way you can adjust easily is your width. I think I talked about this last week. If you're trying it on as you go and you realize that a certain part of your top is a little tight, maybe in the bust, maybe the armhole, maybe your waist and hips, that's where I usually have issues, is in my hips, and like right below my belly button. And I just need a little more room right there. So the best way to adjust your width is to, like, if you just need slightly, is to go up or down a hook size. So if you need more room, like for me, I need more room in my hips, but just a little. Like, I'm still a size small bust. Well, I'm right in between sizes, but technically my bust is a size small, but my hips are like a size medium. So depending on the positive ease and all that, usually what I'll do is I'll go up a hook size or 2 at my waist, or right below my waist, going towards my hips, to just loosen up those stitches a little bit, and give me the room I want. Now, if you're in, like, truly in between sizes like I am, I would recommend you go up a size. Lately, that's all I've made for myself. Technically I'm a small in the bust, but everywhere else is not as small. So I usually just go up to a medium and make a medium for myself. Unless you just really want it fitted, and not any like give or ease. I would go up a complete size. Now, so the going up or down a hook size, like if it's too big in a certain area, you could go down a hook size as well. And that'll tighten up your stitches just a little bit and give you a better fit in that area if it's too big. Now that'll work for top down and bottom up pretty much consistently. You can do that. Now for rectangular and side by side, an easy way to do the width, to adjust the width, is to just add more stitches to your width. Usually if you're doing 2 panels, like for a side by side, you're usually working in long rows. So you would just add more rows to the panel to make it wider. And then for a rectangular, you would have to add more stitches. That's where it could get a little tricky. Maybe not if you're just doing a simple rectangle, but you will need to know like the multiples of your gauge, so that if it's a multiple of 4, you make sure to add your 4 stitches or whatever. So that can be a little tricky. You could also, for a rectangular, go up and a side by side, just go up a hook size and see how that works. If it adds the width that you need. But then with that, you may run into adding more length also. Sometimes you just got to play with it. I'm thinking out loud at this point. But it's an easy way to just loosen up your stitches a little bit or tighten up your stitches, is to go up or down a hook size to make those adjustments in those areas. Because like I said, some places I can meet gauge and have the measurements that they're supposed to be, but in other areas, I need a little bit more room. So that's an easy way to fix that. Okay, next is length. Length is super easy. You just add or take away rounds or rows. For top down, you need more length. You add rounds. Same applies for sleeves. If you need more length or less length, you add rounds or rows. For most, let me disclaimer, most situations, you can just add or take away length. Let's see. That will work for bottom up, top down, rectangular too. You just make a longer rectangle, and side by side, you would just make a longer panel. So pretty much the same for that. If you need more length, you add more. If you need less, you take away rounds or rows. For your neckline, now your neckline is an area that we don't think about too often that might need adjusting. I've had problems or issues where it fits, like I'm making a top-down sweater and it fits perfectly fine with my count, and then my testers get it and they can't get it over their head. So that can be an issue sometimes, or they find that it's way too loose around their neckline, or it's like bunching up or whatever. So if you need to adjust your neckline, what you want to do is some ways you can adjust your neckline is, say it says to chain a certain amount and join. And you're chaining and you're joining and you can't get it over your head. Another option would be a chainless foundation single crochet stitch, or any of the other chainless foundation crochet stitches. Those tend to be pretty stretchy, so they would give you more stretch to that initial neckline. You could also chain looser or go up a hook size or 2 for your chain to give you more room. Same situation with if it's too big. A lot of times I just go ahead and start my pattern neckline with a chainless foundation stitch. So say you do that and it's way too big. You can go down a hook size or 2, watch your tension for that chainless because it is so stretchy, or just chain instead. Now, if you're chaining, you need to chain and then work a single crochet stitch all the way across those chains. So usually you're going to add one more chain than what the pattern calls for in chainless foundation stitches, so that you can single crochet in the second chain from your hook and all the way back, because that'll give you basically the same as the chainless foundation single crochet. It's already, the chainless foundation one has already got the single crochet stitch in it, whereas so you would need to add that single crochet round or row. But you may find that's easier and it's not as stretchy, so that you can get a better fit around the neckline. So that's pretty simple. Now if you're doing a bottom up, so that's top down. If you're doing a bottom up, for bottom up you're usually working in the round till you get to the armholes, and then you split into rows to create a front and back panel, and then you sew the shoulder, you seam the shoulders to create that armhole. So for that, that's a super simple fix. You're seaming here, you're sewing your stitches together here, or your panels together. So you're going to just sew or stitch less or more, depending how much room you want, because you're going to sew to the neckline. And then, so if you need more room, if you sew them together and you find you need more room, just take out a few stitches. Or if you have too much room, just add a few more stitches. Same for rectangular. Side by side, the neckline is kind of tricky. I don't want to say tricky, but you got that V-neck most of the time. So if you say it's coming down too low, you just need to sew more. Say it's coming down too low in the back. I really don't love the big V back. That's just my personal opinion. So I usually stitch up as far up as I can to where it's not really a big V in the back, and it's only the V up front when I'm doing that side by side. So that's just, it's simple. It's not tricky, but it's more of a V neckline, so it's a little different. So you just adjust your stitches, how many stitches you're sewing, same as rectangular and bottom up. So that is how you can adjust your neckline. Now, what about your armholes? Sometimes your armholes will be too small. Sometimes they'll be too big. Sometimes they'll cut into your armpits because they are too small, and it comes up too high. So there's a few different ways you can adjust. So let's start with top down. If you're doing a top down project. Now, some of my top-down projects or designs are, I work like a raglan yoke, and then I chain and skip stitches to create the armholes. Sometimes I work a raglan yoke and I just keep working it and then skip stitches, and it basically folds it in half, and then you have your armholes. And the same goes for a circular yoke. So for that situation, if you're doing a raglan or a circular yoke, and where you're just increasing, and then you skip a bunch of stitches to basically connect it, the front and back, and that to create your armholes. If you find that it is too tight, once you've connected it and you try it on, add more rounds to your raglan or your circular yoke to give it more length when you connect them. Skip all those stitches to create the armholes and connect them. That's going to give you more room down here. Basically, it'll connect here instead of way up here. So that's an easy way. What you'll do is once you get done increasing, so most of the time for like a circular yoke, you'll increase until you get a certain number of stitches, and then you'll do some more rounds with that same stitch count. So that's what you'll keep doing. You'll just keep doing more rounds until you get to a good area where you have enough room in the armholes once you connect them. Same for a raglan. You just won't increase anymore, but you'll just keep working that same stitch count until you have enough length right there to add. Now, if you're chaining a certain number, some things you can do is chain looser. Go up a hook size for your chain if you need more room. If you need less room, go down a hook size or chain tighter. If you're trying to change the stitch count, you got to make sure you know multiples and how much is in the front and how much is in the back. So there's a little math involved if you try to do that. So first I would try to just chain looser or to go up a hook size. Now you can also do the same thing that you did with, like, say, a circular yoke or a raglan, and add more rounds of that same stitch count first and then try chaining. That's still going to add more length for you. So that might be a better idea too, to try. Something to try first is to just see if you add more length and the armholes come down just a tad. It'll give you more room in the arms. Let's see, side by side, no, bottom up. Okay, let's do bottom up. If you're doing bottom up, you're creating your panels, easy fix to adjust your armholes. If you need more room, add more rows to your panels. That's gonna give you a bigger armhole because you're just sewing at the shoulders. If you need less, add less rows. And then seam, because that's gonna just change your armholes depending on how many rows you did. The more rows you do, you're gonna have a wider panel, which is gonna give you a bigger armhole. If you do less, you're gonna have a smaller armhole. So that's an easy fix. Rectangular is, all you wanna do is, if you adjust your sewing just like you do the neckline. You sew however many stitches you need, and if you find you need more room, work less stitches, undo some of those stitches, and if you need more, work some more, less room, work more stitches. So I'm getting myself confused. Same with side by side. It's just a matter of how many stitches you sew. If you need more room, let out a few stitches. So those are easy fixes for your armholes. Now for your sleeves, same situation with like if you need more room in your sleeves, if it's just a little too tight or whatever, same situation as the body of your garment. Go up a hook size if you need more room, or if you need less, you can go down a hook size or two. Sometimes it takes 2 hook sizes to go down to really tighten up those stitches. Sometimes 1 hook size just doesn't make enough of a difference. So play around with that. Also, if there's decreases in your sleeves and you don't want the decreases, you find it becoming too tight here at the wrist, you can just skip the decreases. That's always a possibility. If you find that you do need decreases, it's too big, way too baggy up here at the smaller end of your arm, you can do decreases. And an easy way to do that without like having to do a bunch of math and figure out the stitch counts and the multiples and all that is decrease by 2 every round. So do like if it's single crochet, do single crochet 2 together at the start of the round and at the end of the round, and you're decreasing by 2 each round. Usually that's an easy way to do it, depending, and it'll depend on how, like if you're joining or if you're working in a continuous round, like the look of it, if it'll adjust and make it look funny. But it's a good thing to try. You can always do that. That way you just decrease by 2 every round until you get to where you want it, the fit, so that you can, that's an easy way to do it without adjusting, like having to do too much math. So those are my tips for adjusting. If you have any questions, I know I did that like super fast. I didn't want to take up too much time. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I also have a blog post that explains all this in a little bit more detail, a little bit. You could like slowly go through it, and that I will link in the description. Okay, it's time for what's in my WIP bag. And I pulled it all out again today. I only have one like major WIP that I am working on, trying to get finished up, and it is this shawl that I told y'all about a couple weeks ago with this hand-dyed yarn. This is what I've got so far. I'm up to the lightest color here. So it'll stripe one more time with the dark color, and then it'll be all light from here out. But I love it. I really like it. I love how the variegated yarn kind of color pooled. Look at that. That's pretty cool. So yeah, it's asymmetrical. It'll go like this. I like it. It's so pretty. Almost done. I should be able to finish it in a day or two, a couple days maybe. So I just got the rest of this, and I've used pretty much all the yarn. There's a little tiny bit of the dark pink, and I used all of this. So yeah, I'm using it all up, and it's coming out a really good size. So that is my main WIP right now. That's pretty much all I'm working on at the moment. After I finish that, I am going to remake my Bonnie Bell sun hat in this 24/7 cotton, which is also what I am doing my yarn review on today. So more about that later, but I'm going to do it in this pretty denim color. I want to make some adjustments to the pattern. So that's going to be next on the list. And then I have a beautiful, oh, you can barely see this pale pink. This is Hawthorne fingering yarn. It is from WIP Crochet. I am going to make a summer top with this. I have a few, I think I have 4 skeins of it. It's a very pale pink. I don't know if you can see it that well, but that will be next after the sun hat. So that's what's in my WIP bag. Let me move it all over. Okay, now let's talk about my brutally honest yarn review of 24/7 cotton. This is from Lion brand yarn. It is 100% mercerized cotton. So according to Lion Brand's website, mercerization is a way of treating cotton that makes it stronger and more receptive to dye. After the process, you have a smooth, luminous yarn that is easy to care for. So that is what that is. And I believe it. It's really nice. You can read up on it. I'll link this article that they have written all about it. You can read up on the process of how it happens and all that. So I'll link that. But this is the colorway denim. This is what I'm going to use for my Bonnie Bell sun hat. They have a lot of really beautiful colors. Let's see. It comes in a skein of 186 yards, so a pretty good bit. Yeah. So my thoughts on it. I like it. It's one of my favorite cottons. I don't use cotton a ton, but when I do, I want a good cotton that's not gonna like hurt my hands. I find that sometimes working with cotton hurts my hands, and this doesn't do that. This is a really easy cotton to work with. I've designed, I now have the Savannah bag in this, and I also have now I cannot remember it. It's like on the tip of my tongue. Another bag, I'll have to link it again, pattern in this, in a gorgeous yellow color. The Sabre bag, that's it. In a gorgeous yellow color. It's a really beautiful yellow in this cotton. That's the first time I actually used this 24/7 cotton. So the label says it can be machine washed and dried. So I did it. I gave it a try. This is really close to the color of my shirt. I probably should have thought about that. So I did the Savannah bag. I told you guys about that a couple weeks ago. I had it remade in this yarn, so that, because the other yarn that I originally made it in was discontinued. So I just grabbed this to wash. I had put the handles on for pictures, but I did not put them on very good. Like, I just kind of sewed them on as fast as I could and took the pictures. So I washed it in the wash, regular wash, and dried it on low till it was almost dry, and then I laid it out to finish drying. My one handle did not make it. It was like coming off because it wasn't like weaved in or anything when I washed it. So the one handle didn't survive. The second handle is kind of a little misshaped a bit. It's kind of folding over itself, which could have happened anyway. But the bag held up really nicely. I don't know if you can see. I was super impressed with how well it washed up. There is no fuzzing, no pilling. I mean, it looks exactly the same as before I washed it. So that's impressive. Like even the Bravo Sport, when I reviewed it and I washed it and dried it for the first time, had a little bit of fuzz, but not that much. This doesn't have anything. Like, this is really nice. It looks brand new. So yeah, I'm going to give this, as a cotton yarn, I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10. I think it is well worth the money. It's really nice. It holds up amazing in the wash. This would make a great garment cotton. If you're using cotton for a garment, I think this would be wonderful because it is nice. It has such a nice like sheen, and it holds up so well in the wash. That I think it would make a really nice garment that I might have to consider designing soon. And it's just super nice. It's really nice. Now, I don't know how available it is to get. I usually just buy it off the Lion Brand website. And I do know Crochet, We Crochet, they carry some Lion Brand yarn, and they carry this yarn too online. I don't know if it's like in Walmart or Michael's or Joann or anything like that. I will have to look. And if you know, let me know in the comments. So it may be easy to get. Maybe it is even easier, like if it's at your local stores. But I think it's well worth the money, and that's why I keep designing with it or remaking things with it, because it's just a really nice, I would give it a 10, I think. For a cotton yarn, this is one of the best, I would definitely say. So that is my Brutally Honest yarn review. Another yarn that I really like. If you have a yarn suggestion that you would love for me to review, leave it in the comments, and I will try to get to it as soon as possible. Next week, I am going to review another yarn that is not an acrylic. I wanted to take a break from acrylic for just a little bit, so I will be reviewing that. It's something I've used, so I'll probably like it, but we're gonna get to one of these days. We're gonna have to find one that I don't like. I mean, but it's yarn, right? Like, we love yarn, so it's hard to find one that we don't like. But I'm sure they're out there for sure. So if you have a yarn that you would like for me to review, leave it in the comments. If you have a topic that you would like for me to talk about that's yarn related, garment making related, leave that in the comments. I want to know. I would love to be able to chat about it with you. Yeah, I hope you'll check back next week. Remember, be sure to subscribe so we can get to 1,000 subscribers and do a giveaway. And I will see you guys again soon. Bye.